All right, we are live. And I think what we will do is come down flat on our backs to start with, starting with constructive rest pose. So knees together, feet somewhat apart. Now, if for some reason the knees don't come together easily, take a block between the knees and see if that block between the knees makes this pose a little more comfortable. Settle the shoulder blades into constructive rest pose. You can support the head with a blanket or a towel to bring the chin into neutral head tilt. And then take your left hand for a moment and try to slide it under your back. And hopefully your hand is locked out. The lumbar spine is gently pressing down into the mat, preventing the hand from slipping underneath. So constructive rest pose. Takes the pressure off the lumbar spine. One would say that it takes some of those strong hip flexor muscles that join the leg to the hip and puts them into a neutral state. Not so much stretching them, but releasing them from the contraction that they're constantly in. And use this time to bring awareness to your breath. Slowing the breath down. And particularly on the exhale, draw the navel in towards the spine so you feel the lumbar spine pressing even more strongly into the mat when you exhale. As you inhale, release the pressure and feel how the lumbar spine starts to move away from the mat. So really focusing on the exhale, draw the navel in, empty completely, feel the low back press into the mat, and then let the inhale be more relaxed. Emphasize exhale, emptying the lungs, and feeling the low back release. On the next inhale, pick the knees up. If you've got a block, remove them. And then bring the soles of the feet together and let the knees splay out to the side so that you have that butterfly shape. And you'll notice that I'm putting blocks underneath the thighs to take pressure off the hips. Now, you don't need to do that, but it's a nice way to allow the hips to open more gradually over time. Over time, you can start to move the blocks outwards, away from the center line of the body. Take your left hand and notice that it might scoop a little deeper under the low back now. Changing that leg position creates an arching effect in the low back. Bring your attention back to the exhale. Draw the navel back. Feel the lumbar spine descend towards the mat. Relax to inhale and feel the lumbar spine lift up. Come back to the breath. Draw the navel back in. Feel that lumbar spine slowly release. And on the next inhale, lift the knees up. Remove blocks from out of the way. And gently squeeze both knees towards the rib cage. Release the hands and let the knees sway left and right. And let that swaying be about 30, 40, 50% of how far you could come. And over time, over repetitions, let the knees come closer and closer to the sides of the mat, to the floor. They may not get there. You just want to feel this as a release in the low back after that butterfly pose on the back. The next time you roll to the left, come all the way over, curl up into a little ball, and then gently press up. Bring the right shin across the mat, lean into your right hand, and bend the left knee behind you. You might like to have blocks handy, or a block. So I'll go through that again. Right knee on the right side of the mat, right foot on the left side of the mat, shin parallel to the top of the mat, the second knee bent behind you, and you're just simply leaning into the right hand and then the right elbow. Inhale, come back up and take your left hand and scoop the fleshy part of the right side of the belly towards the center. So when you come down, the belly is off that thigh. You can brace yourself with the left hand or the left elbow. So feeling swan pose, deer pose, sorry. The block can be used to support the head. So once again, we're coming into that area below the lumbar spine, the glutes, and the right low back. And as you rest the head on the block, the neck will release. And even though this is a little more challenging, I'm going to ask you to keep focusing on your exhale. So as you exhale, draw the navel in. Let the inhale expand naturally against the thigh. If it's available for you, start to walk the hands out away from the shoulders. The head might want to come down lower. And once again, as long as you haven't eaten too much food, gently draw the navel back in and emphasize the exhale. When we emphasize the exhale, the relaxation response starts to become more and more natural. On the next inhale, bring the hands back underneath the shins and walk that right knee back. Come onto all fours. Create a little cat and cow movement here, just moving the spine. I'm going to try something we don't often do in this class. I want you to take that same right leg and just bring it out to the side. Try to bring that right foot parallel to the long edge of the mat and the pinky toe grounded. Now you'll notice that what I'm doing is starting to pulse my hips back and forth. I'm just moving them back and forth. You might like to have a block handy so that if you come back, you might sit on the block. Or better still, if you can, let the left foot come in towards the right foot, keeping the knee where it is so you can come back and sit on that back foot and then come onto your elbows into awkward child pose and rest your head on stacked fists or hands. So we're still on the right leg, but now we're working the adductor, the inside thigh, instead of the outside thigh. And if you can't do this pose, find some way to extend that right leg so you feel a nice stretch on the internal thigh. So one variation, if you're not sure what that would look like, might be that, sitting on your sit bones with one leg extended out to the side, and you can create a little twist in the opposite direction. So both variations will get into that right thigh. And once again, I'm emphasizing the exhale tonight for a particular reason. To notice how it brings you into the relaxation response more readily. The longer we can create an exhale, the slower the heartbeat. And then slowly come up. Slowly come up. Bring that right knee back. A little cat and cow. And then come onto your left sit bone and lean into your left hand and bring that left knee onto the left side of the mat, the left foot onto the right side of the mat, and the back knee is bent. The more you lean into the left side, the more pressure you take off the leg and the knee. I had a little too much dinner, so each time I do this, I can feel my dinner. So I'm going to scoop my left belly to the center and then come back down. And that keeps my belly from being pressed into the thigh. Bringing the block down for my head, I can now bring the right elbow down into deer pose. And then wait for the body and the piriformis to settle before walking the antlers out away from the head. So the variations are here. Both hands are down. Head is up. One elbow is down. Head is closer to the block. Or you could lift the block up. Or both elbows down. Or walking the hands away from the body. Working on the outside of that left thigh before we come into awkward child on that side. And then start to emphasize exhale. And emphasizing exhale by contracting the belly will help digestion. Inhale, bring the hands under the shoulders. Walk yourself back up and come onto all fours, a little cat and cow. Create a little circling motion with the hips. So we've come into both thighs, and now we're going to come into the inner adductors on that left side. Another way to come into it would be to lift the left knee up and back, up and back. So a little fire hydrant action here. And the next time you lift it up, just straighten the leg out. And you drop the foot onto the pinky edge of that left side. And I like to slide my right foot towards that left foot so I can come back and pulse into that back leg. Pulse, come back to the point. Now you might need props underneath the buttocks. That might help. You might like to sit up with the leg extended. Or if child pose works for you, come down to the elbows and rest the head on stacked fists. Getting that left inner thigh nicely stretched. If that inner thigh is giving you too much trouble to stretch, you could also just come into normal child's pose, releasing the lumbar and the low back. Five more breaths here. Emphasize exhale, if you can. Work the digestion. And then exhale, gently come forward onto all fours. Once more, bringing that knee back. A little cat and cow. And then exhale, come back onto the sit bones. If you have a strap handy, I'd recommend you grab yourself a strap. Let's keep your blocks or your bolster handy. Coming down, head resting on the blanket, neutral, head tilt. Similar to how we started, except this time you can explore where you'd like the knees. You could have them into TP pose like we did earlier or not. Take the strap over the left foot. And gently play with the amount of tension you'd like to put into that strap, either pulling the foot back towards the head so you feel the calf muscle and the hamstring light up with sensation. When you find the right amount of sensation, simply hold the straps statically. Give that leg time to experience the calf muscle stretch, the hamstring muscle stretch. Slowly extend the right leg out onto the mat. Push out through the right heel. And notice the extra sensations that brings. If your chin is sticking up into the air, thicken whatever you're lying on. If it's a blanket, just fold it again. So you don't want any pressure in the back of the neck. So just getting into hamstring and calf muscle here. Curl the toes back towards the shin. And then slowly bring the right foot up so both feet are in the strap. And then take the left foot out. So all you've done is transferred feet. Curling the toes back, this time of the right foot. And when you're ready, extend the left leg out. Toes curled back, keeping plenty of sensation in the back of that right leg. Toes curled back. Start to emphasize the exhale. Notice how the low back feels. Now bring both feet back into the strap and release the right foot. So the left foot is back up in the air. And now I want you to bend the left knee and pull the foot closer to you. Keep the sole of the foot looking up at the sky, but you've bent that left knee, no longer stretching the back of the leg. Now you feel this in the glutes. Some of you might be able to reach your left hand up and around the outer edge of that left foot. So don't worry if you can or can't. Hold on to the strap. Extend the right leg out. Notice how that feels in dragon pose on the back. Ideally, the bottom of that left foot parallel or as close to parallel as you can manage towards the ceiling. And then slowly straighten the left leg. Bring the right foot up. Both feet are inside the strap. Remove the left foot on the floor. Now pull the strap down, bend that right knee, pull it down, pull it down, pull it down. Right foot comes down towards the ground, the sole of the right foot facing the ceiling. Your right hand might be able to wrap around the outside edge of that right foot, may not. That's why you've got the strap. And then extend the left leg if that's available to you. So these are deep groin stretches, all helping release the low back. Focus on the exhale. Now slowly release that right foot to the floor and extend both legs out. Close the eyes for a moment. Feel the sensations in your legs, low back, and hips. And just for a check-in, let's bend the knees and bring the knees together, feet apart, like we did at the beginning of class. Emphasize exhale. And notice how your lumbar spine feels. Bring the soles of the feet together, knees out to the side. Notice how the hips and lumbar spine feel. Remember, you can always chop those legs up with blocks. But we won't be here long, we're just checking in to see what's happening in that region after all that stretching. Cross the right ankle over that left knee and push the right thigh away. Push your right hand into the femur of that right leg. Now release the pressure. You might like to have a block handy here. I'm going to bring the block right under my right foot and then roll onto my left side. Now, the block just helps. If the right foot doesn't reach the ground, bring the right foot onto the block. Otherwise, right foot onto the ground. Notice how my right knee sticks up. So figure 4. And then gently take the left hand against the femur, the right femur, and push it away. And bring the right arm back over the head. Good. Try to bring the back of the head into neutral. So right foot or left knee could be on a block or cushion or blanket or towel. It's nice to feel the left knee and the right foot grounded, leaning against something. This is also going to be very helpful for digestion. I keep mentioning that because I ate dinner a little close to yoga tonight. If you'd like to take pressure off that right thigh at any time, you can. Just bringing the left hand out to the side, relaxed. Now you can remain in this position. We've got 1 more minute. Or if you'd like to try something different, bring the left hand under the head and pick up the head. And then take your right hand and try to grab hold of the left foot and then lay back down. So now the right hand is connecting to the left foot. So there's still the lumbar twist, but now holding on to that left foot creates a quadricep stretch. So we're releasing the front of the groin in that lumbar twist. So that's a nice option to throw into lumbar twist. We call this cat pulling its tail. Important to make sure the back of the head is supported either directly on the ground or in your hand or on a block. Sometimes there'll be a little over crunch here. We want to try and relax the abdominals at the same time. And then release that left foot. Gently unwind the body, coming onto the back again. Stretch both legs out. Noticing the lumbar spine, the legs. Gently bend both knees, standing both feet on the mat. This time crossing left ankle over right knee. Left hand will press the femur away on this side. Now when you're ready, we're going to roll to the right. The left foot comes down to the ground or a block or a blanket or a cushion. Right knee on the ground or a block or a cushion or a blanket. Start to press the left thigh away with the right hand. And that left hand can come up back over the head. If you'd like to release the left thigh, let that right hand just flop down. You can feel the twist in the lumbar spine still without the pressing of the femur. Now we've got about 1 more minute here. You can have the option of getting that right quadricep stretched by lifting the head, reaching down for that right foot, grabbing that right foot with the left hand, and then lowering the head once again, but keeping the lumbar twist consistent the whole time. Just adding cat pulling its tail to that right knee, that right thigh. And if that's something that's not available to you at this time, over time you will grow towards that extra reach. Sometimes hooking the right foot with a strap and then holding the strap with the left hand is another way to grow into that stretch. And then gently release, untangle, very slowly. Standing both feet on the mat, knees together. Let's check in with the low back. Remember, if the knees don't come together, you can use a block between the knees. Feet apart. Take the left hand and see if it can slide under that low back. Hopefully not. Exhale, squeeze the navel in. Let's do a check with the knees out to the side, soles of the feet together. Option to chalk up the legs with the block. Left hand might find its way under the lumbar arch now, that low back arch. Except when you exhale and squeeze the navel in, you'll press the spine in towards your hand or the mat. Slowly bring those knees back up. Now, if you have a bolster or cushions, bring them under your thighs and stand your feet on the edges of the mat. If you have blocks, as you straighten the legs, bring the blocks under your knees. But if you're on a bolster, just let the thighs rest on the bolster. And then bring the hands out into your five-pointed star, shoulder level out, palms face up. Bring your attention into the arches of your feet. The left arch, notice if there's any tension. Notice if the toes like to move or be still. And keep your attention on the left arch until you feel that foot starts to relax. And if it can't relax, just keep observing it, how it might move and twitch, how it might fidget, without any judgment. So if the foot is relaxed, there's no judgment. If the foot is twitchy and moving and tense, again, no judgment. Pure observation. Feel the sensations. Sometimes when we put our attention onto the arch of the foot, it's like catching a fish. The fish squirms and flicks its tail and moves until you put it back in the water and it can relax or swim away. When you feel that left fish, that left sole relax, bring your attention to the right. Two different fish, two different soles, two different feet, maybe two different responses. As each soul settles down, I'm going to invite you to draw the relaxation from the bottoms of the feet up through the legs. You can do it one leg at a time. You can do it both legs simultaneously. And each time you exhale, draw the navel gently in, feel the lumbar spine press into the mat, And as you do, feel that relaxation move up through the soles of the feet, up into the legs, and it might flow all the way up into the brain on the first go. Or it might be like a little pump. You're pumping a tire and you feel the relaxation work its way gradually up towards the brain, maybe reaching the knees and then the hips and then the shoulders with each consecutive exhale. And then there might be another way I haven't thought of that this relaxation moves in you. But if you can, feel the exhale bring that relaxation right up through the core of the body, either into or towards the brain, one breath at a time. Each exhale. Each inhale, letting go. Each exhale, a drawing up of relaxation. Notice if any effects come into the brain or the eyes as you do this. And as the relaxation reaches up through the neck and jaw and lips and eyes, let it pool around the brain so the brain itself feels like it's becoming more and more at ease as you soak that relaxation in. So the brain is swimming in a pool of relaxation. And on the next inhale, gently bring the heel palms of the hands over your eyes. So you black out the eyes. Make sure there's no pressure on the eyes. You don't want to hurt the eyes. You want a nice gentle covering. And with the eyelids closed, let the eyes look up towards the top of the brain. Even though they're closed, you can feel the muscles moving the eyes up towards the brain. And then imagine the eyes are going to move around the face of a clock, 1 second at a time. Let the eyes revolve a full 360 degrees, 1 second at a time. So you feel the muscles of the eyes moving in all those directions. And when you've come to 12 o'clock again, reverse the direction so the eyes move 1 second at a time. a full revolution in the opposite direction. And when you've done that once in each direction, let the hands slowly come back to the belly. Notice how the low back feels, the lumbar. And knowing that this position we're in, if you've been sitting for many hours, if you're sitting in a chair or driving, or even if you're on a meditation retreat, you've been sitting and sitting and sitting, this can be a great way to release the lumbar spine. You can remain in five-pointed star, or you can start to bring the legs up to the bolster, feet treading on the bolster. Gently roll to one side. If you're transitioning, and then slowly press up to a comfortable seat. I'm going to come into Vajrasana, the kneeling pose. You might like to sit in any seated pose that works for you, including being on a chair. And of course, the true test for the lumbar spine starts to become evident when we sit or stand. Because the lumbar spine has that beautiful curve that absorbs the weight of the torso as gravity pulls that weight downwards. So the lumbar spine works very hard all day for us. As you bring the hands together in prayer position, let the head bow in gratitude for that lumbar spine. Thank you so much. Namaste. Thank you, my friends. I'm going to turn that recording off.